Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the King and Pocket Aces, brought to you by Rotoballer.com. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Aniano, and joining me, as he always does, Hall of Famer and King of Fantasy Sports, Mr. Scott Engel. Scott, week 10 already upon us. We got sleepers and value plays for everybody. How you doing today?
Doing good. Ready for another week here. Happy Seahawks are getting Russell Wilson back this week. That's good. Odell Beckham Jr. seemed like he's going to be a Ram. That's not good for the fantasy value of Van Jefferson or the outlook of Beckham. If he would have ended up on the Packers, say, he would have had a lot more fantasy appeal. But this news breaking as we record it. So to me, Beckham really just becomes more of a fantasy wide receiver 4/5, and I can't see this affecting Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods too much.
Right, I agree.
Certainly, we loved Matthew Stafford in the preseason, man. This only helps make him an elite fantasy quarterback. The Rams trying to become like the 1990s Yankees here.
Yeah, I mean, Rams just Super Bowl or bust. They have made that abundantly clear. So it's going to be fun to watch that offense operate once Odell is suited up and on the field.
The Los Angeles Rams have never won a Super Bowl.
No, they have not. That is correct. And it's going to be interesting, Scott, not to digress from fantasy, but that NFC playoff is going to be off the charts with the quality of teams that are currently on pace to get in. When you look at the offenses of Dallas, Green Bay, the Rams, Arizona, I mean, my goodness, it's going to be a fun December and January in the NFC as they jostle for positioning and then come the postseason. And guys,
I think Dallas and the Rams have the best offenses overall in terms of passing game and running
game. The balance is there.
Yeah.
Green Bay needed that second wide receiver
They'll fact that second wide receiver. It's not happening.
Well, the point is Odell going to the Rams instead of Green Bay is a tough blow for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers offense, because the compliment they lost is now just going to somebody who they could very well be facing in the postseason. And
yes.
I'm not a huge Odell guy, but that's a tough offense to defend.
Yeah, if they lose in the playoffs, it's going to be like the Brooklyn Nets losing in last season's NBA playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, don't forget, head over to rotoballer.com. Check out everything there. Main page, premium package, expert chats. Sign up for any of those premium passes. Save an additional 10%. Use the promo code KING, letting them know Scott sent you, or ACES, letting them know I sent you. Make sure you like and subscribe right here to the Rotoballer YouTube channel, and or wherever you listen to the Rotoballer radio podcast. Ton of great content. Start, sit, waiver wire, and the sleeper value plays, brought to you by Scott and I each and every week. All right, Scott, so let's get into it now. 4 teams on a bye week 10. No Giants, no Bengals, no Texans, no Bears. There's still injury situations at running back that are being sorted out with a lot of game time decisions. It seems it's going to happen come Sunday morning that we got to sort out. So there are situations people are going to have to dive a little deeper for this week. So we'll start at the quarterback position. As always, you get to go first. The sleeper quarterback for you, my friend.
Thank you. You got to replace Joe Burrow this week. Here's a good option, and he should be rostered. He's a streamer. A lot of people have fallen out of love about Matt Ryan, and there's this narrative that he's just not a good fantasy quarterback. Not true. He dropped a big number on the Saints last week, fantasy-wise, and should be a high-scoring game against Dallas. I'll take the over on that on rotoballer.com/betting. He has 300-plus passing yards in 3 of 4 road starts this season, and he is aiming for his 7th consecutive road game with 2 touchdown passes. Since the season opener, he has thrown 2 or more touchdown passes in all but 1 game, and this is after losing Julio Jones. This is after losing Calvin Ridley in the last few weeks. Matt Ryan, true professional, Hall of Famer. Yes, hasn't won a Super Bowl, but neither did Dan Marino. This guy just continues to prove what a good quarterback he is, and he's still a very viable fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. I have Matt Ryan as my QB2 in every 2 quarterback league I am in, and he's just been rock solid.
Nobody ever wants to draft him now.
No, it's amazing, and I love him, especially in like those two QB FFPC formats or Scott Fishbowl. He's my second quarterback in every one of those leagues, and he's been terrific for me in that role. Scott, my value quarterback this week, Ben Roethlisberger against the Detroit Lions. Now I know he loses Claypool, but he still has Deontay Johnson. He's turned Freiermuth into a weapon as well at the tight end position. Okay, Lions allow 260 passing yards per game. They've allowed 15 passing touchdowns. Ben had 2 passing touchdowns last week, and he still throws the ball. Throws the ball over 30 times each of the last 3 games. So if you're going a little deeper than Matt Ryan, you're really digging, you're desperate to replace Burrow, Big Ben is widely available and somebody who should give you 240, 250, and potentially 2 touchdowns, Scott.
Yeah, I know you do the morning show on Sirius XM, 6 to 7 a.m. Eastern, weekdays with Josh Hayes, dude. You better make sure he doesn't watch this video because nobody hates Ben Roethlisberger more fantasy-wise than Josh Hayes. He would rather start Colt McCoy than Roethlisberger. He would rather start P.J. Walker. He would rather start Trevor Siemian. He would rather start Josh Johnson than start.
And some of these guys, it's just been broken. Like Josh Johnson's going to be 3rd on the Jets depth chart this week behind Joe Flacco. So that's how much
He would rather start Nathan Peterman than Ben.
We did forget to mention at the start, speaking of P.J. Walker, Cam Newton now back with the Carolina Panthers as well to play quarterback. So a lot of news.
That's nice.
Today.
That's nice in terms of being a story. And I've gone on record as saying that when it comes to treating the like you've heard a lot of negative things about Cam Newton. But one thing is I've never you can watch the videos on YouTube. He is so he's so good to the fans.
Yes.
More than other athletes. Just
gives to charity, generous guy. I agree.
Yeah, and you see him hanging around training camp. He's making time for everybody, like kids, and then the regular fans too. And you hear so much about how Cam wasn't a good teammate. And in New England, his teammates liked him, but he's really, really a good guy off the field. Yeah. I don't want anything to do with him fantasy-wise, but I'm making a difference here. He's a really, really good guy.
No, so I agree.
I hope for success for him, but I fantasy-wise, I don't want him on my roster.
No, I agree. Although I do think not this week, but eventually he'll be starting for Carolina with Darnold out and P.J. Walker just not being the guy to lead that team. Anyway, let's transition now. The running back position, Scott, give me your first sleeper pick at the running back position.
I'm going to go with J.D. McKissic against Tampa Bay. Anytime that Washington gets in a negative game script, he's going to catch passes out of the backfield. He had 8 catches for 93 scrimmage yards, 83 receiving in Week 8. He's one of 3 running backs with 2 games of 8 catches this year. And since the beginning of last season, he ranks 2nd among running backs in receptions and receiving yards in the NFL. J.D. McKissic, whenever this team plays from behind, and they certainly will against Tampa Bay this week, he's a quality PPR start.
Yep, absolutely. And going along those same lines of a PPR start, I'm taking a look at Devin Singletary this week against the Jets. Jets allow the most fantasy points in the league to running backs in a PPR format at 37 points per game. They allow almost 183 total yards per game to opposing running backs, 113 on the ground, almost 70 through the air, and they allow 7 receptions a game. Zach Moss is in concussion protocol, so who knows what his status will be on Sunday. Devin Singletary, who had about 12.9 fantasy points last week, could be in for a lot of work as the Buffalo Bills go against that miserable Jets run defense this upcoming Sunday. Scott, who is your running back 2?
I'm going to go with Eno Benjamin. The Carolina Panthers have been 4th best against running backs, but still, if you're digging deep, I know a lot of people like James Conner, and I do too, but there's still going to be a lot of time shared in that backfield, I think. And Benjamin's probably going to get I'm projecting about 40% of the reps there. And Arizona is 8th in the NFL in rushing. And especially if Kyler Murray doesn't play, they're going to have to rely heavily on the run like they did last week.
Yep. Benjamin should be fun. Connor was a fantasy winner, obviously, last week. My second running back, Javonte Williams of the Denver Broncos, against the Philadelphia Eagles, coming off his first 100-yard game of the season. Now, it's been interesting. He has had double-figured fantasy points as Williams every other week. It legitimately alternates. Okay, now he's coming into a game. Melvin Gordon is still involved. Gordon's been kind of stealing touchdowns, but the Philadelphia Eagles do give up 27 points per game to running backs, almost 7 receptions a game, and over 100 yards rushing per game. Williams has been steady. I'm using him in a bunch of spots where bye week and injury is affecting me. He, to me, is a very safe play. And really, the better running back than Gordon is just Denver remains loyal to Gordon's work, as well as they two of them continue to split time, Scott. Scott, your first sleeper value play at the wide receiver position.
I'm going to go with Emmanuel Sanders against the Jets. He had 65 receiving yards last week. He's had 50-plus receiving yards in 6 of 8 games this season. In weeks 3 to 6, he had 13-plus PPR points. So I think there's something to floor there. And, I like this matchup against the Jets for a Buffalo offense that wants to come out and really reestablish himself. He had a pair of 2 touchdown games this season. I think, you could be looking at least at 5 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown with Emmanuel Sanders this week.
I love Emmanuel Sanders this week, picking on that Jets defense. My wide receiver one at the sleeper is Hunter Renfrow of the Raiders against the Chiefs. On paper, this should be a shootout. The question is, will Kansas City put up enough points against the Raiders to make it that shootout? Hunter Renfrow is giving you double-digit fantasy points all but one game this week. He is the wide receiver one on the Raiders. Forget about Bryan Edwards. Deshaun Jackson's a fun story, but I'm not overly excited about it. It's Renfrow, and it's Waller in Derek Carr's eye. He averages 7.5 targets per week, does Hunter Renfrow, and that Kansas City defense is just not good, Scott. I love Hunter Renfrow's ability to give you 7 or 8 catches and get in the end zone this week against the Chiefs.
How bad Jordan Love that he made the Chiefs defense look good.
I mean,
really good fantasy play last week.
Well, Jordan Love played so bad that he made Green Bay Packers reevaluate Aaron Rodgers' future with that team. I truly do believe that as well.
Yeah, hoping Rodgers doesn't make it back for Sunday's game.
Scott, who's your wide receiver 2 this week?
I'm going to go with Tyler Johnson against the Washington football team. No Antonio Brown, maybe no Chris Godwin. Scotty Miller's just coming back from IR. Tyler Johnson last year had a pair of games with a touchdown and also with 4 catches for 61 yards early in the season. When he's been on the field, I've seen Tom Brady look his way on occasion. I think he does trust the young guy. And the Washington football team allows the 2nd most fantasy points per game to wide receivers. If you're desperate at wide receiver, you don't have Jamar Chase, you don't have Kadarius Toney, who I still like, or this is a DFS play as well. Go with Tyler Johnson.
Yep, I like Tyler Johnson this week too, especially if Godwin does not play. My wide receiver 2 is Deontay Harris of the New Orleans Saints against the Tennessee Titans. Titans defense has played better of late, but they still have allowed 12 touchdowns on the season to the wide receiver position and the 2nd most fantasy points to wide receivers at just over 47 points per game. Harris has 15 targets over his last 2 games, and he has 4 games of 10 or more fantasy points. Deontay Harris, a nice little sleeper, undervalued play this week for the Saints, as they're going to have to throw the ball. Kamara's knee might still be an issue come Sunday. So Deontay Harris against Tennessee, another sleeper at the wide receiver position. Scott, who is your value play at the tight end position?
If you're digging deep, when Justin Herbert looks to the end zone, he looks for Donald Parham. And Parham has scored 3 times in his last 5 games. I think he's a consistent end zone threat with the Chargers.
Yep, love Parham this week. Another play. I love both those Chargers tight ends. I'm going with Dan Arnold versus the Indianapolis Colts. 10 or more fantasy points, 3 out of his last 4 games. He's averaging 7.5 targets over his last 4, 30 targets in those last 4 games. And he goes against the Colts defense that tight ends have averaged 6 receptions for 60 yards, 16 fantasy points per game, 6 touchdowns by tight ends against the Colts so far this season. Scott, as we always do, we wrap it up with the King Special, some bonus value plays for Week 10.
Yeah, Mike White's just outside my top 15 at quarterback. I know he's facing Buffalo, but White's been looking fearless. I remember just before he got hurt last week, and he threw that touchdown pass against the Colts. He started pulling out his 6 guns and going, bang, bang. It was pretty cool. Mike White. Jet fans are hoping he's the next Tom Brady or Kurt Warner. I wouldn't go that far yet, but he's had a 78.6 completion percentage, and I don't think he's going to be scared of this Buffalo defense whatsoever. If you need to replace Joe Burrow, or you want to use him as a second quarterback in a 2-quarterback league. Naheem Hines, not reliable, but good matchup this week against the Jaguars. Looking for his 4th game in a row against the Jacksonville Jaguars with 50-plus scrimmage yards and a threat to get in the end zone. A.J. Dillon, maybe to bang in the end zone against the Seahawks. Michael Gallup is being projected to return this week. The Atlanta Falcons have allowed 11 touchdown receptions to wide receivers, and a guy that I continue to tell people to pick up because I just see him becoming the best playmaker for the Jaguars in their passing game. Jamal Agnew against the Colts. They rank 28th in fantasy points per game allowed to wide receivers, and they have allowed the most touchdown receptions to wide receivers with 15.
There you go, folks. The King Special, some extra bonus plays. Funny that we're talking about Mike White, but he's continues to prove himself even in that shortened game last week before going out. This will be a good test.
Quarterback controversy.
Oh, it's coming. It is coming, Scott. I'm telling you, it's coming in New York.
Could Mike White be the best Jets quarterback since Namath?
Oh, that's fun.
He's the first one since Testaverde in 21 years, I believe, to throw for 400 yards.
400 yards. Yep. And he looked good last week before he got hurt. And Robert Saleh is not dismissing him, as he is not telling Zach Wilson the job is his when he returns. So it could be fun, depending on if Mike White puts up numbers this week against Buffalo. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun in Jets land with the quarterback controversy that's going to brew. That's for sure. All right, everybody. Like I said at the start, head over to rotoballer.com, sign up, premium pass, King or Aces as the promo code. Save yourself 10%. Like and subscribe right here to the Rotoballer YouTube channel. Check out all the great content each and every day that comes out. Waiver wire, start, sit, and right here, the sleeper and value plays. Give Scott a follow on Twitter at Scott E. the King. Follow me at Aniano Fantasy. And special thanks to everybody who tunes in each and every week. Scott and I really do appreciate all of you watching the show, commenting in the comment section on YouTube. Keep asking us those questions. We will happily continue to answer them throughout the season. All right, folks, stay smart, stay safe. We'll see you next time. Have a good one, folks.